today we're talking about induction and onboarding, why it's important, and how to do it well. So, what is induction and onboarding? Well, it's about, portraying or disseminating all the information and details that needs to be imparted to new staff. A lot of those things that we take for granted, like where do I get where do I get more stationery, or where do I park locally? Stuff that we take for granted, but new staff don't. And also about how you do things in your business, because though somebody might be a very experienced accountant or engineer or whatever the role is, they haven't done things in your company and everything is different. So it's about making sure that you impart that information. It's about creating the right first impression. What is this company? Is this a disorganized, scatterbrained company? Or is this a structured, by the book, or is it a friendly, but here's the information we want to help and share you? And that induction is really important for creating that right first impression, and includes, where things are, how to do the job at this contact company, who the key contacts are, and making introductions so that they can start building relationships, the 90-day check-ins, etc., etc. So it covers a whole raft of things, is what your on induction and onboarding. And why is it important? Well, statistics say that 30% of people leave in the first 6 months. Now, that's quite hideous, and some I found as high as 36% leave within that first 6 months. And the and the reason for this is, people come on board, they they come on board, they are really excited about starting this new job, and they've had this fabulous experience through recruitment, and then they're like, oh, bubbles deflated. And they don't feel that they get the knowledge, they feel they've out their depth. They're also still, in that recruitment mindset because they've just joined you. Their CV's possibly out there. They might have taken your job, waiting to see whether something better came along. So, you need to make sure that you cement that honeymoon phase into a long-term relationship, or get out before it gets too hard. So you don't want to get into the bigger problems down the line if actually, yes, it was a bad decision on both parts to actually say yes to the job. And it also gets people up to speed as soon as possible. Ultimately, even on minimum wage, you're paying somebody 50,000 a year. So about 4 grand a month. And so the longer it's taking them to get up to speed, the more money that is being wasted along the way, paying their pay just for them to get up to speed. Person who's brand new in the door is not going to be as productive as somebody who's 2 years in the door, who already knows your systems and processes and all the rest of it. And the quicker you can get them up to speed, up to that, you know, 1 to 2 year level mark, the better. But if they're taking 2 years to actually get up to speed, then that's a lot of money wasted. And also, it's about making sure they learn things right the first time. So if you've been operating a system, I know I've had it frequently throughout my career where somebody said, they've watched me do something on the computer, and it's like, well, didn't you realize you could just press F5 to do what's just taken me 10 minutes to do? Because they didn't know about it, because I didn't know about the F5 and function or whatever it might be. So making sure they learn things right the first time, because it's far easier to learn it correctly the first time than to unlearn things that you've learned incorrectly. And that's also about the how we do things in this business. Often we're having discussions with people. Frequently, it is misunderstandings. I know one that springs to mind. It's from quite a few years ago back in the UK, but a guy who started work at a construction company, and the first week he was there, he went out for a pie and a pipe for lunch on Friday. The second week, he went for a pie and a pipe at lunchtime on Friday. I was like, "What on earth? This is a construction company. You can't have alcohol during the day." But that's what he'd done for his entire career. He had no idea. The previous company that he'd worked for hadn't kind of got up to speed with the health and safety rules of this is not acceptable. And so we ended up in a disciplinary process, and the guy was just absolutely flabbergasted. He had no idea that this was actually a problem. And so, yep, we went into the disciplinary process. He did get a warning, but he did immediately stop the behavior because he just really didn't understand. So learning things right the first time is about the how you do things, but also about the culture of your business, because that will be very different between different companies. And it's also about building key relationships. So who are those people that they need to build a relationship? Obviously the boss and their teammates, but there might be key stakeholders, key clients, whatever, that they need to start building a relationship quickly with. And making sure that you don't miss key milestones. The 90-day trial period creeps up on you very quickly. So make sure you don't miss those. So what does it include? Pre-start. Yeah, make sure that you are set up ready for their arrival. Do you have the tools, the computer, their desk, their email set up, their login set up? All of these things need to be set up and ready to go before they start with you. I remember a friend of mine who started a new job. She was an HR manager. She'd moved from New Zealand to Australia, turned up. They didn't have a desk, they didn't have a computer, didn't have anything. She spent the first week camped in the corridor because there wasn't even an office space. And she just moved from New Zealand to Australia for that job. So she didn't actually stay very long because she was just like, this is just ridiculous. I can't cope with this level of disorganization. So make sure you have those tools so that they aren't getting a really bad first impression and they can get on with the job quickly. Consider their access levels. So you maybe bringing somebody on as a bookkeeper, and they might be a very experienced bookkeeper, and the intent is that they are doing all your direct setting up your payments in your bank account or whatever. But maybe you want to consider whether or not you give them full unrestricted access of your bank account on day one. You do need to get to know them a little bit. So, think about those access levels. Maybe you need to be staggering some things and getting them up to speed with some things, or having in place, so particularly around bank accounts, having in place multiple authority levels. And that's actually a good thing to do as standard anyway, rather than having a single person authorizing. Unfortunately, I've had rather too many discussions about single person being able to authorize things and then things went awry. Is there any training to be booked? So in construction, trades industries, often site safe is something that is training that needs to be booked very quickly. So, make sure you've got that up, ready to go, set up for pre-start so they know they arrive day one, and your site safe course is on Thursday. Cool. We're already done and dusted. And have they signed their contract before they start? They filled in an application form, or their IRD forms completed? All of that sort of thing. So, yep, ideally you have that all done and ready to go before they start, but we know there's a practicality to that. So, if it isn't, the contract must be signed before they start. The rest of the stuff, the application forms, ideally you've got your application form because hopefully that's part of the recruitment process, but good idea to get an application form filled out so that you have, because that's got things like the emergency contact details. Are there any health and health issues that you need to be aware of? That sort of thing. The IRD forms, obviously, they need to be set up within the first day or so, or by at least the first day or so to get them onto payroll. And then day one, Well, check. Do you have all the paperwork? If not, get it sorted. Um, do the introduction around the team. Get them to, who faces, names, etc., who's where, that sort of thing. Give them the office workshop tour. Where are the coffees, the loos? Where's the best place to park for you're not going to get a parking ticket? That sort of thing. Um, who are the key people they need to meet? So, immediate manager, their team, admin, etc. What are their system logins? What do they need? And do they think, check in with them, do they think they have the tools needed? So towards the end of day one, it's like, hey, great, how did it go? Anything you're thinking you're a bit concerned about, you don't know yet for tomorrow when you come in tomorrow. So check in with them. And the HR Toolkit tools, we've got a new employee checklist for the company, new employee checklist for the employee, a new employee quick reference sheet. And then we've got the induction manual. So the induction manual is the niggly bits on day one, the general office, use, emergency procedures, personal financials, business financials. And by having this in writing, the employees have something to refer back to and make a great first impression. So I'm just going to pull up the induction manual. Cool. And hopefully that has worked okay, that you can now see the template induction manual. So I'll just scroll into it. Aim of the manual is to get you to feel home straight away and provide you with the ongoing reference manual for your everyday work. New employee quick reference sheet, my DDI is, my mobile number is, etc. What are the silly things? What is the address where I work? What is my computer login? There's some old stuff there. POP3 details, SMPT details, whatever it is for your business. There will be other weird and wonderful things that that somebody needs to do their job. And so the niggly bits on day one. So first time user on the computer, where is the central file directory? How do you actually file things on the computer? Do you use Dropbox or SharePoint, or what is the system that you use? And what are the rules around it? What are the rules around personal use of the IT facilities? What are the formats for email footers? What do you have a standard template footer for your email? How can you log in remotely? What should your email signature look like? So it goes through all of that sort of thing. How do you cancel a print job? What's the parking protocols, or where can you park? So it goes through all of these details. If I scroll back up to the, just scroll quickly back up to the index. So stationery, travel bookings, business cards, post, photocopier, how to lock up the office, what are the emergency procedures, where's the first aid kit, what do they do with their personal financials in terms of expenses, company credit card, travel and company business, private vehicle use, mobile phones, and what happens with business financials, how do they get refunded for things that they might have incurred. So hopefully that sort of makes a bit of sense, but it's about having that in writing so that they can refer back to it, because they're not going to remember everything. I'll jump back to the. And then the next thing you need to think about is the 90-day trial. Look, it sneaks up really quickly, and you don't want to get to day 89 and go, oh, it's not working, bye. The 90-day trial period is a legal defense. There is no mechanism that stops somebody raising a personal grievance. It is just a legal defense in the event that somebody does raise a personal grievance against you. And the thing is that the courts actually don't like this idea that you can just get to day 89 and say, oh, sorry, oops, bye. They say that flies in the face of good faith. And I have to say, I agree with that principle. But therefore, if you are thinking about terminating somebody in the 90-day trial period, though you don't have to go through a formal process, you do need to evidence some level of discussion that this wasn't just a day 89, oh, out of the blue type of thing. That you actually, but you can diarize notes if you've had discussions with people. And generally, what I do is if somebody is looking to terminate under a 90-day trial period, that you do still formally invite them to a meeting to discuss that, lay out what the concerns are, give them the right of representation, etc., etc. It's a bit of bolts and braces, but I think it's a really important bolts and braces step to take. So diarise for yourself the 30, 60, 80 days points. How are they going? It just needs to be an alert on your calendar to go, oh, it's day 30. Yeah, how are they going? Rockstar, loving it. Or, yeah, not quite so sure about that. Early. It may well be an misunderstanding. So, for example, the guy with the pie and the paint on Friday, totally unacceptable for a construction in the construction industry these days. But that was what he was used to. He didn't think anything of it whatsoever. So often these things are, and if you course correct at the early stages, it can be really easy to deal with it. And also check in how they are finding it. So you might be thinking, yay, everything's rocking. And they're sitting there going, oh my God, what did I do? So check in, how are they finding it? Has this been a good move for them? Or are there things that they're not quite so happy about? And if so, what can you do about them? Ultimately, you want to avoid the pain of going back to the recruitment process. The other tool that we've got in the toolkit is the 6-month introduction to the business plan, which, week one, the boss, the teammates, the direct reports, admin, payroll, who are those people that they need to meet with? Month one, key client stakeholders, colleagues, out of town people. First 6 months, less urgent, but important that they build a relationship and set up the meetings for them and diarize them. And again, in the toolkit, and we'll just pull up the 6-month introduction. There we go. So, employee name, position, what their start date is, down to page width. So who do they need to meet in week one? Direct manager, their direct reports, their immediate colleagues, the administrator to show them the IT and other general company systems, any key clients that they need to meet immediately. List them all out. Who are the people? What's the position? What's the date and time? And what's the purpose? Is it a meet and greet? Is it a go through the company vision? Is it to and that will also dictate. So you're probably not going to have a one-to-one sit down with every single member of your team for an hour. You might have a morning coffee with the whole team for half an hour, that sort of thing. Who else do they need to meet in month one? So putting faces to names with key colleagues, particularly in locations that it's unrealistic to arrange an out of town meeting during week one, or can you set up Zoom meetings? So in this day and age, really easy to set up Zoom meetings and things like that, so they can do things from their desk. But making sure that they start to build those face-to-face relationships. I know that I have people that I work with who I have never ever seen their face. I know there's lots of people I've worked with I've never ever seen their legs because I've only ever met them on Zoom. I think Jordan may even be one of them. I don't think I've ever actually seen Jordan in the flesh. Um, who else do they need to meet in the first 6 months? So these could be external stakeholders, people within the business who've less impact on their day-to-day requirements, but are important for them to meet. And schedule the review catch-ups. So it's usually done by the direct manager, but the 1 month, the 3 month, and the 6 month. Now, it doesn't necessarily need to be a formal process, but it is about making sure there's a check-in point. Just having a coffee, that sort of thing. Cool. And I'll just jump back to my presentation. And feeling part of the team. So, this is the last slide on the presentation, but it is really important. We've all been the new kid on the block. It's not a nice or comfortable place to be. And it's really important to help them build that positive working relationship. So a lot of what we've talked about already is about getting them up to speed quickly, but building that positive working relationship is really important. And cliques can be really damaging for an evolving business. You've brought somebody new on, and so one of the things, there's another present webinar that I did that's the recordings on the website, which is about assessing cultural fit within an organization. And cultural fit is really important, but sometimes you need to break the culture of your team. So if you've become too stuffy or fuddy-duddy or whatever, actually you need some new, vibrant, young energy to actually get things going in a different direction and move away from the, oh, well, we've always done it like that, so we're going to carry on. But that is also that new person, that new change is going to jar in your team. And sometimes you need to do that, but you need to do it with awareness of what the impact is going to be. And how do you prevent that new person from being pulled down? Tall poppy syndrome in New Zealand is rife, and it's really important within an organization that you're not actually damaging the growth of the organization by the team pulling the newbies down into a substandard level of performance. So watch out for those cliques, because that can be really damaging for those personal relationships. And having a sort of a structured induction, using the assessing for cultural fit and understanding what the cultural differences will be, and acknowledging that there are differences. So for the young 20-something who's whiz bang on IT, etc., for them understanding that the 50-year-old female, not so brilliant on IT and gets totally and utterly confused with these things, doesn't mean that I don't have brains and information and knowledge. But yeah, you start talking to me about TikTok and Insta and things like that, and I'm kind of going, oh, what? Don't know what you're talking about. So actually just addressing those with both parties. Those are differences, respect the differences, but make sure you break down those cliques and don't let that difference become an aggression within the team. And the next webinar, that's the end of my slideshow. I'll be jumping on to Q&A if you've got any Q&As. Next webinar is on Friday, the 29th of November. This is the last one for the year. And it's about managing the festive season. So making sure that you have your notifications for the shutdown sorted. How do you manage the Christmas parties and the inevitable phone calls I get with the weird and wonderful stories about Christmas parties and all that sort of thing. So how do we navigate that one safely? I'd also just say before I close out as well, I am working with a lot of redundancies and restructures at the moment. If you are, and I have worked with quite a few companies who've really stuffed it up. If you are working through downsizing, if you are working through that sort of process, please, please, please give me a call. Often we can head off major issues very easily at the onset. So yeah, honestly, 10-minute call can avoid you a heck of a lot of problems down the track. So I'll just stop my share. If I can, here we go. Cool. Any questions?
Hey, Lisa. Yeah, good work as always. Nothing has come through yet, but guys, feel free to get any questions in around inductions and onboarding. Really, probably an overlooked part of some businesses is getting people feeling really comfortable and understanding how the systems are working early on rather than having to do it later. I imagine
Yeah.
the flow of getting people working efficiently is much better if you do go through that process well at the beginning. So, yeah, any questions, pop them in. Looking forward to it. You're right. You've only ever seen my top half. You have never seen my legs.
I
So I'm
don't
hoping
think
that,
I don't.
yeah, I'm hoping one day we can change that.
Yes.
Hopefully in the near future. I'll just have to come to Northland and visit, which isn't which isn't off the cards at all. Um,
Excellent.
so yeah, looking forward to that last one of the year. Another 2024 wrapped up quick as a flash,
Hmm.
and then we'll be rolling on for next year. So looking forward to that. No questions in the chat there, Lisa. So we can wrap
Awesome.
up
Well,
if you
we'll
like.
wind that one up.
Yep, nice. So remember, it's been recorded, so you can have a look at it later if you like. And anything you missed is not missed because it has been recorded. So we'll see you next month. And thanks so much, guys, for coming along. It means a lot. And thanks so much, Lisa, for your presentation.
No problem. Thanks,
All right.
Jordan. See
See
you
you
soon.
guys.